Welcome back everyone, Patrick here, and moving on to the next example, we got to find the limit as x approaches 36 of 1 over the square root of x minus 6 minus 12 over x minus 36. So this one's a little tricky. I'm going to show you how to do it in two different ways. First thing to note is you can't make a direct substitution here because if we sub in 36 for x, notice that this denominator is going to be 0 and this denominator is going to be 0. So that's not going to work out. So what I'm first going to do is I'm actually going to take these fractions and combine them into one. That's usually the process I go through whenever I see fractions separated. I try to combine them into one. So because these fractions are subtracting, if we combine them into one, we're going to need a common denominator. And here's where it gets a little weird. This x minus 36, we can actually rewrite. So let's pretend that it was given as x squared minus 36. Notice that this here would be a difference of squares. It'd be x plus 6, x minus 6. But what if we're given x minus 36? It's not x squared, it's just x by itself. Well, we can rewrite it like this as well, but instead of having an x here, we're going to have a square root of x. Right, because we took the square root of x squared here to get these x's by itself, square root of 36 to get these 6's. Same thing, square root of 36 to get the 6's, but now since this x is by itself, the square root of x is just the square root of x. So that x minus 36, I'm actually going to rewrite in this format. Square root of x minus 6, square root of x plus 6. So I know it's a little weird to deal with factors having a square root. That's why I'm going to show you a second way to do it after as well. But that's pretty much how you go about this question. And the reason why you want to convert this to that is because notice that this factor is within this denominator as well. And so to get a common denominator between these, really all we have to do is multiply this factor by the square root of x plus 6. That's what's missing. The common denominator is both of these factors multiplied together. So this factor is missing here, and so we got to multiply the top by that. And so what we would end up with is the limit as x approaches 36 of, if we combine these into one now, square root of x plus 6 minus 12 over the square root of x minus 6, square root of x plus 6, like that. Right? So this is the exact same as this. And now notice that that numerator we can simplify because 6 minus 12 is just minus 6. All over the square root of x minus 6 times the square root of x plus 6. And now notice those factors cancel out. So we're left with a 1 up top. Now we could do a direct substitution. If we sub in 36 for x, square root of 36 is 6, plus 6 is 12. 1 over 12 is the final answer for this limit. Okay, so that's one way to go about it. So just recognizing this to this might be a little tricky, might be a little different because of these square roots in the factors. If you don't want to deal with square roots and factors, you can also do a change of variable for this. So what we can say is we can let m equal the square root of x. That means m squared is going to be x, right? So we have something to sub in for this, for that, but we also need something to sub in for this x approaching 36. And notice as x approaches 36, m is going to approach 6, right? Because the square root of 36 is 6. So taking this, and that, doing a change of variable completely on the limit, we would end up with the limit as m approaches 6 of 1 over m minus 6 minus 12 over m squared minus 36. Like that. And now when we factor that m squared minus 36, that's just going to be m minus 6, m plus 6. We don't have to deal with these square roots here. So if you feel more comfortable doing that, So we'd have 1 over m minus 6 minus 12 over m minus 6, m plus 6. And then the same process. Combine them into one fraction, so a common denominator is going to be these two factors multiplied. Got to multiply this by m plus 6, multiply the top by m plus 6. So we'd end up with the limit as m approaches 6. This would be m minus 6 over m minus 6, m plus 6. These cancel out. We're left with a 1 up top. Now we could do a direct substitution. We end up with 1 over 12. Right, so different ways to do this. Whichever way you do it, the limit is 1 over 12.